Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning, khushamdi, ji ayanu, goedemorgen.
Begheragele, ni hao, churashume, washmale, ohio, gonzaimes, guten morgen, hola, bonjour, privyet, kaifa hal, hale shuma chatore, ahlan wasalan marhaba, buna, mucho, gracias, swabia, bhalli kare aaye hain. And ladies and gentlemen, for everybody who's tuned into PT World, thank you very much for tuning in. You watching World this morning, alongside my very fantastic, very amazing co-host, Shiza Hashmi and Shahzad Khan. Hello Shiza, how are you doing on a very rainy morning over here in Islamabad?
I am doing absolutely great. Thank you so much for asking. What about you? And how are you liking the rain?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, obviously the rain is blissful and it's full of blessings too as well for us people over here in Islamabad, Rawalpindi, Lahore or elsewhere. But we definitely pray for people out there in Karachi who are actually stuck without electricity, without food, without a lot of items, necessary items. Ladies and gentlemen, our prayers go out for you. And yes, we do believe that the government is actually trying to take whatever actions necessary, but obviously it's going to take time because of the fact that we were really not ready for rains in such large numbers.
But I think we were also sort of expecting it, Shahzad. It was monsoon. I mean, come on, it happens every other year. We know what was going to happen.
That's true.
But you know, the moment we have to take over here right now to send our thoughts and prayers actually to everyone, not only in Karachi and all the underlying areas in Sindh, Punjab, anywhere and everywhere where they might be threatened because of the ongoing rains.
Exactly.
I hope you all are safe. I hope you all are with your family, and I hope you can just make it to the end. I mean, hang in there. Just keep swimming is what, like Nemo would say, to come out of a difficult situation.
Yeah.
Because, well, we do have faith in the incumbent government, and inshallah, we shall definitely come out with a solution soon.
Inshallah.
Other than that, how has I want to say the weekend been for you, but we had a show yesterday.
Well, the weekend,
so.
obviously, ladies and gentlemen, was very busy because it was a shura as well. And then, you know, you were committed, you have to be on television, you have to be on screen, then you go back home. You know, so there's a certain process which you go through on days like these. And I'm glad that, alhamdulillah, that everything passed by very peacefully and eventfully as well, at the same time that all of those people who had some religious obligations on these ashuras as well were fulfilled, and without anything kind of disturbing them or anybody disturbing the peace of all of those rallies which were out there as well.
Right.
So I think it was a great thing.
I think it was absolutely.
Finally to have this news that, you know, okay, you know, everything was safe and sound and everybody's home and we're done with it.
Yeah, and should I tell you something? Thank you for reminding me of this story, actually. So this is probably from 2 years ago on BBC, but I reread it because they reshared it this year as well on Ashura. There's a place near Tata in Sindh, and there's a group of Hindus, a community rather, which lives there, and they call themselves Hussaini Hindus.
Wow.
And it's so beautiful, Shahzad, especially in the first 10 days of Muharram or throughout the month as well. They sort of facilitate all their Muslim friends around their own
They fast
area.
as well.
They fast as well. They sort of, you know, cook for the Muslims who are observing fast or who are going to be mourning throughout the month as well. I think it's a beautiful example of staying together in harmony and being peaceful first of all, and then being tolerant of each other's religion as well. And speaking of this particular thing, Shahzad, I think it's rarely, I'm really sorry to say this, it breaks my heart. I hope this was not the fact, I wish rather, but it is. This is one of the very few instances where people would coexist belonging from different religions, especially when there are Muslims involved.
Exactly.
I hope you know where I'm going.
Yeah, thank you very much for sharing it with all our viewers as well. And ladies and gentlemen, that's the point. You know, when we speak about Pakistan, I think Pakistan is one of those places where minorities are looked after very well. And it's not because of the fact that, you know, that, or, you know, everybody is kind of, or probably everybody's got the mindset that, you know, this, or that. But as a matter of fact, I think that it's our religion which actually gives us this example, which sets this example for us. And ladies and gentlemen, whenever we speak about religion Islam, I think Islam is the only religion which exists in this world which talks about harmony, which talks about peace, which talks about coexistence. And, you know, we cannot even actually pressurize anybody or any non-Muslim to actually come into our religion. You know, this is something which we are not supposed to do at all, and this is a message. This is what Quran says, and this is what Quran tells.
Absolutely.
So I think that, you know, people over here in Pakistan, and every now and then we do have them over here on our show as well, maybe Christians or maybe anybody from any other religion. We have coexisted really well, and I think that it is all because of the fact that our religion shares the message of coexistence, peace and tolerance.
Absolutely, I do agree with you, Shazad, but unfortunately, there might be some people in the world, or there might be some lobbies in the world, or some wings in the world who would negate with you, with whatever you said, with the message that Islam is, trying to spread over here, the message of peace, the message of coexistence. And that, I don't know whatever the ulterior motives behind their mentality of spreading hate against Islam is, but it does exist. And these are not some general public we're talking about, it is even some leaders of some major superpowers. Exactly. So for example, this was just recently, I think it was a week ago or two, where a teenager in Wisconsin, was it? So he opened fire. It was a hate crime against, well, some very innocent people. There were some Muslims involved as well. Now, rather than, making it a proper news and bringing that particular person to the book, and telling people that this is what will happen to you if you do something like this. Well, what Trump did, now we have to realize here, Trump has a major influence, not only in the US, in the entire world, because of course he happens to be the president of one of the largest powers in the world. What he said was that the kid or similar people who have committed such crimes did it in self-defense, which is not a fact. There are videos out there. There are live witnesses out there who do mention it was not self-defense, it was an attack, it was a hate crime. But of course, like I said, it's all political, it's all lobbying. And I really hope together, I think, we can clear this misconception of how hate is sort of connotated with Islam right now.
Exactly. And Shiza, I am going to add on to what you've actually said as well, ladies and gentlemen, that, rather than, obviously it is the political leaders and they are doing it because of their political gains. But that's one thing, and I think everybody else at homes really need to understand that, rather than blaming a religion or blaming an individual for that matter as well. Now, let me take you to New Zealand, where, ladies and gentlemen, there was this armed terrorist who went into a mosque, shot down a lot of people. What did Jacinda Ardern did? I think, ladies and gentlemen, she actually set an example for the global leadership that this is how communities really need to coexist. So I think that leadership plays a very important role. But not just that. From the last 10 years, if we look into it, in the last decade, we have seen not just all the other television networks, but I think precisely CNN made sure that CNN is going to propagate Islamophobia in such a way where people are going to see disturbing images and blame somebody that, okay, this was somebody who actually did it and his name was Ahmed, or his name was such and such. But now, ladies and gentlemen, I think we really need to be honest. We really need to be fair. One last thing, Shiza, and then you can add on, and then we'll move on to our guest as well. And that is that the media houses really need to play their job. They really need to do some good research. They really need to bring in people who know the religion in the first place, And I think that this is something, this is a lag on our behalf as well, ladies and gentlemen, that we are supposed to be the flag bearers of Islam. Na? So what we really need to do is we need to study our own religion first and then bridge this gap and make sure that the West understands it. But not just that. One last thing, that is that every now and then, whenever they have found somebody involved in such an extremist or terrorism act, and his name was a Muslim name. I'm not really sure whether it was a Muslim name originally or not, but it's highlighted that way that, okay, this person was actually an extremist, or this person was, God forbid, a terrorist. But now, on the other hand, when we see people, even in US, I think a lot of people are crazy over there. I'm very sorry that I'm saying that. And that they do not have really some strict gun acts as well. Everybody's got a weapon over there. People go out on the streets killing people, or, he was psychologically disturbed. Come on, we really need to make sure that people are not discriminating on the basis of names. I'm sorry that I'm getting a little emotional, and as an anchor person, I need to keep my emotion out of it. But yes, I think that the media houses need to be very responsible for what they are reporting and why and how and who's behind it.
I think, Shazad, thank you so much actually for leading me towards this, because yes, 100%, the language that the media houses or social media or, any information platform is going to use to talk about incidents or hate crimes is the language that the general public is going to adopt and, make sense of. Like you very rightly said, Muslims are sort of, pushed to the extremist sides, while white people, not even the black ones actually, white people are actually given some, very tameable names to sort of cope up with whatever hate crime they committed. And because of this normalcy that is propagated in the media, hate crime was, especially against Muslims, was in rise. And just to give you little stats from 2018 and onwards as well, in France alone, Shazad, 52% increase in Islamophobic acts was seen. In Italy, now rather than that, in Austria, which happens to be such a small place, Shazad, 74% increase. Imagine that. I mean, people are are okay with it. The government and the lobbies are okay with it, which is why it's happening as well. And I think it's really hard to see that in Italy as well, it was 62% increase. And these are just some of the things on top of my head, or like the ones I noted over here, to give a gist of the overall picture of what is happening in the world. But how can we fix that as Muslims is what we are going to talk about today with this very, very apt Professor Saab over here in the studio. So Shahzad, let's be introducing them.
Exactly. So ladies and gentlemen, he's one of those people who's made sure that he's going to dedicate his life towards making sure that people are not going towards Islamophobia, rather going towards being in love with Islam. And that's what we see, that the Islam is one of those religions where people, ladies and gentlemen, is actually coming within the religion rather than going out. So I think that this is something which is very evident all over the world, not just us, Hollywood celebrities, people everywhere, all over the world, people have been in love with this religion. And this gentleman has decided that he's going to make sure that whatever efforts within his capacity is going to deliver, and he's going to let people know that Islamophobia is something which is triggered by media houses, and then people do it for their own gains and agendas as well. Ladies and gentlemen, he happens to be a professor of media studies in Islamic University, Islamabad. He's none other than Professor Dr. Zafar Iqbal Saab. Hello, sir. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning.
Thank you very much. This is really nice to be on your show. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for joining us. We know that we got a little emotional, but now we're not.
Yeah, we got carried away.
We're back on track. And since it's about my Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who's been an example, and we try to live our lives according to the way he lived his life as well. And when we talk about him, there's no way that it can be Islamophobia. I think it can be people falling in love with Islam.
Exactly.
But sir, with what I'm going to start the conversation is, very sorry, are Muslims the new black?
Yeah, you can say that, because this is kind of, you see, racist feelings that the West is in fact developing towards Muslim.
Right.
Earlier it was something like prejudice, it was something like, you see, othering concept. I mean, they are not from within us. Yeah. But now Islamophobia is very fastly becoming a racist kind of thing. It has taken a racist color. And those who are associated with Islam or having Muslims' name, they are always declared as some of the people. They are the people, in fact, those who could create problem or possibly a potential threat for their Western societies and their values, their culture. I mean, regardless of how modern you look like and how you can say educated you are, how much educated you are, that doesn't matter at all. They consider that if a Muslim is there and he is a very educated person as well and very cultured as well, but there are certain aspects of his life, and once those things are up, then he would ultimately become irrational. Right. So they always have this kind of feelings. I mean, turning Muslim rational to an irrational one, probably that requires just one stimulus, and that would be enough. So that's why they are in fact trying to create that kind of feelings in all the people, those who are living in the West. And yes, you have very rightly said that the mass media are playing a very important role, because the way they discuss Muslims and Islam and the problems in the Muslim world, they in fact try to pose Islam as a religion that does not tolerate other religions, a religion that is in fact barbarous in nature, a religion that is anti to democracy, a religion that is in fact anti to the women's rights and all that. So these kind of things are always associated with Muslims and Islam. Yeah. So we need to be, of course, very savvy on that what kind of construction about Islam and Muslims is being done.
Right. Professor,
and then the next very important thing that you have just rightly pointed it out, that in the West right now, the right wing is on the rise.
Yeah.
And this is the discourse that they're carrying with them.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Now, this is what I want to talk about. So when you talk about this very, I want to say, conservative right wing, the very strong one, that has been built not only in Europe, again, you rightly mentioned West, and elsewhere in the world as well. Now, you've done a lot of research on Islamophobia, and please let us understand what might be the reasons, or what might be the reason for all of the world gathering against one peaceful religion.
Actually, I will. This is a very important question. Yes. I will distribute. I will divide the answer into two pieces.
Sure,
Number one is that there are certain historic reasons.
Okay.
I mean, when Islam was born, that was taken as a problem to the other religions, its contemporary religions. And of course, you know, the two most important religions at that time were, and still they are, one is the Judaism and the Christianity. Yes. They in fact took it as something opposing ideology that is there to threaten their own existence. So Islam was taken as an existential threat for them.
All right.
So this is the one reason, and this is coming in continuity, and there are a lot many people, those who have contributed writing literature on that. I mean, there are huge historic literature that is showing that Islam is in fact threat to the existence of all these religions of the world. And they in fact, you see, divided the religions of the world into two major categories: true religions, where all these religions, there are false religions, including Islam is on the top among those false religions.
Okay.
And that is the way, in fact, they constructed Islam and Muslims and its prophets. So this is one reason, and this is coming in a kind of, you see, continuity. The second important thing that is right now we can see is that there is a huge number of bodies in the world that are there, which are in fact investing a lot of money to create hate mongers.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a huge money involved there. I just quote one example, and more often that I quote there. For instance, a couple of years back, you remember that Innocence of Muslim was a trailer that was loaded, 14 minutes trailer that was uploaded on YouTube. And for that, YouTube for 2 years in Pakistan was banned.
Yeah.
The one who in fact produced that trailer, a 14 minutes trailer only, which was in fact pathetic, and you can call it as a crap. It was no as such artistic value in that. And he publicly announced that while he was getting interviewed by Wall Street Journal, that I was paid $500 million for producing
Oh dear God, imagine that.
Just to propagate it.
Just to propagate it. No, we have to just look at it that who are behind them. If there is kind of terrorist activities in the Muslim world, and for example, war and terror, so we normally are victim of FATF, very stringent regimes and protocols. Why Muslim world is not talking to them and ask them that they should also control the money that is in fact being, you see, invested in creating that kind of hatred against Islam and Muslims. So we need to, of course, pose this problem to them now. You see, last time FBI, a couple of months back, FBI was reporting that there are more than 982 hate groups are working only in the United States.
Oh.
You see, that's an FBI report, and no less than FBI is reporting on that. So they, of course, do not operate.
Somebody can even pay FBI
somebody has to
make that report.
Yeah, even FBI has to pay, because there is a kind of allegation on FBI as well, that they are also creating hate crimes against Muslims.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, sir, I'm very sorry that I'm actually stopping you over here, and that we've actually started to grasp the subject eventually. But now what I want to ask, and I think that it is the most important question. Now, for example, if we look in the West, and that's where this problem exists. It does not exist anywhere other than the West. You know, that's one thing.
Yeah,
that's one thing which we actually need to agree to, and it's because of the fact that there are people who are doing it, they are paid, they have an agenda. Now let's take a look otherwise as well. God forbid, you know, if we talk about US for that matter, we see how many black people have lost their lives in the hands of cops. So at times they have even taken advantage of the legal system to get rid of people. You know, that's something which they have done. You know, there's no religion involved over here. It's just because of the fact that they were black, you know, they have been shot by police people. Now what I need to ask over here is, if they are doing so, if they're propagating the wrong image of Islam, if they're propagating Islamophobia, what do they have in their heads? Let's do it the other way around, so that we can actually come down to a solution that, okay, you know, if Muslims do this, probably, you know, we can get rid of that thought process which they have in their minds, you know, because we have a religion which is peaceful, let's have a dialogue.
Right.
How do we do that?
Actually, for that purpose, we need to, of course, activate the Muslim world.
Okay.
Actually, we also have, this is one side of the picture, we also have some problems.
Yep.
The problems also required to be identified. For instance, if I see that there's a human you poured in to create that kind of hatred towards man, that there should be some voice from the Muslim world. I mean, OIC should come forward to discuss these things.
Exactly.
I'm thankful that Imran Khan was discussing this matter in the UN General Assembly. And that was, in fact, raising this kind of, you see, problem in the world and giving it significance.
Exactly.
And of course, Turkish Prime Minister and the Malaysian Prime Minister, they are also talking about that. But it has to be, of course, something more concrete and something in a more structured fashion that is to be discussed there. And this should be properly studied as well. I mean, we do not study this problem and then we start discussing it.
Yep.
I mean, like this, you see, reading the preface of a book and then started commenting on it. I mean, this is something wrong.
Exactly.
We need to understand that what problem is there, what exactly is the, in fact, genesis of this problem in the West. So, number one, this problem is in fact with the Muslims' leadership and the leadership of Muslim countries, that they are supposed to be together to discuss this issue and then pose this issue to the West, that what kind of things they are supposed to do within their own country, because this has now become a structural, what you call it is structural Islamophobia, where the structures of the society, the government institutions are in fact involved, you see, flaring up this kind of problem in them. The next important thing is in fact very interesting, and we should also talk about that the Muslims living in the West. I think they have to integrate with the societies they are living in.
Exactly.
And do you think they're not doing that?
I think there is a big gap. I mean, whosoever is there, I mean, why there are Muslims living in ghettos there? I mean, they try to have their own streets, they try to have their own places, and they like to have every kind of thing that they are enjoying in their own countries.
Exactly.
Instead of going into a different country, living in their country, integrate with them, mix with them, assimilate with them. That is, I think, very important thing which the Muslims are missing in the West. Mostly you might have seen. I mean, I have been to United States, I have been to UK, I studied over there, and I have found many places where the Muslims are in fact living in a ghetto street. That creates really a bad thing. I tell you something very interesting, that lately when I was researching on this subject in the UK, those non-Muslims and the Western and you can say the Brits who have been in close contact with Muslim, what we call now the contact theory. So the first-hand connections with the Muslim, interaction with them, that was in fact a very important ingredient in reducing, you see, abnormalities in them about Islam.
Right. This was actually the headline for two major publishing, sites, not only in Pakistan but across the globe as well, which said that living near Muslims could decrease Islamophobia. And I was like, hey, I mean, about time we learn about that,
but
right?
only if they will let us now. You know, that's what the problem is. I know that you actually have a question to pose to Sir. But I think Sir has actually identified the most righteous thing so far in the conversation, and that is that wherever we go, we want to live in a secluded environment where we can have all the mutton, all the beef, and no other white gentleman can come or probably kiss his or her, his wife probably for that matter in public, you know, and this is something which is not liked by Muslims. Same was the case with black people. I'm sorry that I'm bringing it up, but they used to have their own communities, and if anybody would step into it, would actually endanger their own life.
You can take example of Jamaica, you see. Jamaica is a big place where only the blacks are living. You hardly see any white over there in New York. But the same is the case even in Glasgow. You go on Ellison Street and you would hardly see a Gora there.
It's all Pakistan.
It's all Pakistan.
But you know what, agree to disagree, gentlemen, please, if you do allow. I do disagree with both of you on this thing. Because to my understanding, Sir, while I do agree with you that there might be communities which are so Muslim-centric that they're not probably open to the idea of non-Muslims coming in, it's the fear, isn't it? If I were to think that I was a part of that community, and if my teenage children were to go in playground and come back beaten up, or probably, you know, never come back, or be abandoned, or be kidnapped, or be violated, I would love to live in a community where I'm surrounded by like-minded people. You know, probably this is my understanding of what happens. But adding my question onto that as well, we've already mentioned that the language used by the leaders or the actions used by the leaders all across the world are definitely propagating Islamophobia even more. To name some, we can say Aung San Suu Kyi. I mean, massive genocide against Muslims over there as well. Trump, Boris Johnson, Netanyahu, Modi. So many more on the list. Oh, Modi, of course. I mean, the father of all. So many more on the list. So if they were to be a little more responsible and a little more tolerant, do you think things would change? Or let's say, how can they be the change?
You have said two things, a very important thing. I will respond to first as well, that you are saying that you are not mixing with the people. Fear is there. I think this is very important for all the Muslims living in the West, that they should not only get busy into money minting businesses, rather they should also go into the leadership positions as well. They should study law, they should
like the Mayor of London.
They should join police services, they should join militaries over there. I mean, those leadership positions that really are very important for those societies, not only becoming a wealthy person in that society.
I
mean, that should start from there, and of course, when coming down, when you will see that it's coming down, that would not be in fact that fearful as you were just mentioning it. Yes, this is very important. You can take example of in many instances from the history, you can just have it. For instance, after 9/11, when this was a huge discourse, as Muslims are involved in doing like that. You remember that after 4 or 5 days, I mean, the number of hate crimes against Muslims immediately surged after 9/11. But after 4 or 5 days, when Hillary Clinton was on television and she was saying that there has not been found any clue that Muslims were involved into that, and Bush was also there saying that no, there is nothing as such, immediately you see the number of hate crimes dropped. You can take example of even Trump's last speeches when he was making speeches in his elections that we will ban the immigrants and will not let the Muslims come into, and we have to make America great again. So that was in fact causing, you see, a huge number of hate crimes against Muslims over there. Next example is of Germany, when first election, Angela Merkel was saying that Muslims living in Germany belong to Germany. We respect them and they are our voters. But in next elections, when she was campaigning again, at that time, you see, right wing was on the rise. Trump was winning that. And she was saying that if Muslims have to live in our society, they have to respect our values and have to live like our ways.
Exactly.
So you see, these kind of things are then increasing things.
And this is, ladies and gentlemen, all of these incidents which are actually shared by Dr. Saab is because of the fact that, the situation can go either way. If the political leadership is going to stand up and say that, that Muslims are just like brothers to us as well, and that they play a very pivotal role in making sure that a candidate wins or loses, I think everything's going to settle down. But very quickly, since we're short of time as well, so you've actually written a book about Islamophobia as well, so we want you to share your thoughts about this one. And very quickly, what do you think is the solution to make sure that people move from Islamophobia to being in love with Islam?
Islamophilia.
Islamophilia, yes.
Number one, this book is in fact about what Islamophobia is all about, because I feel there is a huge misunderstanding on the concept of Islamophobia. I normally call it Islamophobias, because this is a corpus bundle of phobias that are there in the Westerns. Second important thing is, which is very important to me, because as I have worked a lot on Islamophobia, I think that Islamophobia, different dimensions of Islamophobia are available in different parts of the world. They are not in fact available in a corpus fashion. One aspect of Islamophobia is there in one society. The second aspect of is there in second, and probably some of them coupled together in one society. So if we are to address it, we have to first study it. Unless we study it, we won't be able to. I mean, if I'm going to a doctor and I'm suffering from flu, if he is giving me everything that is in fact, that could possibly...
not figuring out what the problem is.
So, of course, that would not be resolving my problem.
Exactly.
So, for instance, if there is Islamophobia because of racism, we have to in fact attack racism. And how we have to address this problem, this book is in fact talking you about that. If there is a kind of prejudice, then it's to be taken as a prejudice, and how prejudice to be removed and reduced. For that, there is another strategy. So, this talks about in fact various kind of strategies which can be implemented in different parts of the world by studying the problem over there. And the last thing that you have just talked about is what are the solutions. I think the solution is that Muslims should integrate within their societies. They should also integrate, and Muslim Ummah and the Muslim leadership, they should number one study it. Unfortunately, I do not see in the entire Muslim world any you see center that is working on Islamophobia, finding the reasons for that, looking at it, that how big is the problem, and what are the, you see, antecedents of those problems that are causing actually these problems to propagate. We need to study it before we are in resolve.
Exactly. And we really need to see a book where it says Islamophilia as well, ladies and gentlemen. But I'm very sorry, I don't know how I might look. But, anything which is actually going to increase my knowledge or probably make me learn about something, I'm going to do it every single day. So would you mind if I can keep a copy of this book?
I would.
All right, on television, so that I can give it a read and I can have a better understanding, and I will do that. I will get it signed from you.
Thank you so much for being here, sir. And thank you so much for enlightening us and informing us about something so important that we need to be a part of. And also, you're such an eloquent speaker, mashallah. We'd love to have you again, too.
The conversation was lovely.
Absolutely, absolutely. But ladies and gentlemen, right now we're headed to a very short break. When we come back, we have something cute and exciting for you. Stay tuned to find out what it is.
People who are actually going to change the very image of Islam, ladies and gentlemen.
Definitely. Stay tuned. Good morning. Welcome back to Well this morning, ladies and gentlemen, on a very happening day over here in the studios with the very happening Shazad Khan and Shaza Hashmi. So what do we have for this segment?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, before moving on to this segment, I would actually want to shed light on what we were talking about, why we were gone for a short break. But okay, I think I'm going to leave it out. But before going towards the break, I said, ladies and gentlemen, that the kind of personality we are going to share with you, I think, are the people who will definitely change the very dimension of how people look, or change the perspective of Islamophobia and bring it to Islamophilia as well, because we really need examples. We really need people who have that ability to kind of inspire and then make sure to give them that feeling that people take aspiration from them as well for whatever goals they have set in their life. So we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by Akido over here, who's 13 years old. She happens to be an entrepreneur. She happens to be a theatre actress. She happens to be doing so much that I never figured out that I could have been doing when I was 13 years old. Yeah, at 13 I was still figuring out whether 2 + 2 is 4 or 5, you know. That's the, but yeah, I think with changing times, we do have changing minds as well. So ladies and gentlemen, here we have a changing mind who's going to change our perspective of life as well. She is none other than Miss Raheen. Fatima, hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning.
Walaikum assalam, good morning to you as well. Thank you so much for inviting me here.
Thank you very much for joining us, and your energy is contagious too as well. You know, this is the second or third time that I have somebody over here in the studio who has got the same energy levels as Shiza, me, and yes, obviously you've got it. So yeah, the one thing I missed out was she happens to be a stand-up comedian too as well.
Oh yeah.
So 13 years of age, too young to actually decide whether this is what I want to do or not, and still figuring out and still have so many hats to wear. One day you wake up, you're a stand-up comedian, one day you're an entrepreneur, one day you're a student, one day you're a daughter. You're doing so many things. How did you figure it out?
When did it all start?
So it all started with stand-up comedy, and basically I wanted to do something different. And then because when my brother got diagnosed with blood cancer, and he was like really sick, and you know, the doctors were, you know, we all were told that it's really serious.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I thought life is too short. He was like 3 years old, so I was like, you know, you are never too young or too old to die.
Yeah.
So I was like, let's do it now. And I always wanted to do something different, and that was what my father always taught me, do something different. And then I got exposed to all different sorts of fields like robotics, painting, also entrepreneurship bootcamp, which I kind of like picked up.
Okay, that's
And I started out because I couldn't perform at my school. So we went out to an open mic and we started performing.
Wow.
And that's how I got picked up by Fahim Azam in his comedy group.
Yeah.
And I now have my own shows. It's really
just
fun.
a few days ago,
really
ladies and gentlemen, I was with Mr. Fahim Azam as well. He's in Islamabad right now. We were on a private TV channel giving an interview where the conversation was kind of PG-18. But yes, other than that, I think that he's one of those people who's really contributed to the comedy circle over in Pakistan. And there's one thing which I would love to say, even before, you know, kind of knowing the kind of talent you possess, that comedy, ladies and gentlemen, happens to be one of the most difficult things ever. You can act, you can dance, you can do whatever, but your comic timing really needs to be on time as well.
Exactly. I mean, imagine, you know,
I cannot crack a joke. You know, this is one thing for sure. Probably in English, but in Urdu, I'm very bad.
you know what, even if I do know some jokes, Shazad, I just feel like I won't be the same frequency with the audience.
No, Pakistanis have a very different habit because they have very different jokes where they're going to laugh, you know. They are not actually going to laugh over, or, you know, something very...
Oh, the ones
subtle.
that we might crack.
Yeah.
No, but here's the thing. So, Raheen, did it ever happen? First of all, kudos to your courage that you were going through something so, I'm going to say, I'm sorry to use the word, but shattering, right? At such a young age as well, but you made something so good out of it. So, kudos to your courage as well. Now, did you ever have to face an audience as a comedian where, you know, you had the perfect timing, you had the perfect joke, and the audience would be just staring at your face?
Yeah.
I mean,
we need that.
Yes.
Our audience needs that as well.
Did it ever happen?
You know, every audience is a bit different, and a good audience is something that you would need. I mean,
of course,
you can be very funny, but the audience, you know, has that for you.
Let us know with an example. Did it ever happen?
So, I was performing, and I think it was my third performance, and you know, I wouldn't say it was a bad crowd, but the crowd was like
dull.
Yes, I would say so. And I was performing, and I thought it was a very funny joke. I mean, everybody was laughing.
Yeah.
In my house or the friends that I performed.
Right.
But they were like, okay.
Silence?
Oh, yeah, and we're actually going to give you that opportunity to make sure that you actually kind of share or spread the smile with our viewers as well. But let me be very honest over here, ladies and gentlemen, that when we talk about comedy, I think Kevin Hart is one of those people who's very close to my heart as well. But if you come down to Pakistan, I think Moin Akhtar Saab did a wonderful job. I think Anwar Maqsood Saab did a wonderful job by hosting that show on a private channel. And not just that, we do have a lot of amazing comedians over here. One of them, Saad, is actually doing a radio show early in the morning as well. So there are a lot of people who've really done a good job. But let's see whether you can do it or not.
Right, but before that, a very small thing to add to it. So now, when the audience is dull and you don't get the right response, you must have that save grace face to put on, right? Because you don't want to look embarrassed as well.
There are things you say when you know that the audience is not responding. There are some core things you say with which you know that people will actually speak or clap or laugh after that.
No, actually, so I am always very proud of what I do. Not like showing off, but like really proud of what I do.
That's nice.
So
you know your craft.
Yeah, and if somebody does not respond to my introduction, I would be like, why didn't you clap? And then start clapping.
Call them out. Okay.
Yeah, and like start clapping.
Okay, okay.
And you know, when I'm like, you did not laugh, you're supposed to laugh here.
All right.
So like they automatically start thinking that was a joke and they start laughing.
Okay, that's fun.
So yeah. Do you have a joke for all our viewers?
Yeah, so
now we know that you do it in 3 languages, right?
Yeah,
That's Urdu, Punjabi and English. And well, we understand all of them and I'm pretty sure most of our audience does as well.
Go ahead.
You're so good at that.
Yeah, कोशिश कर रहे हैं मैं भी. आओ जरा शुरू करिए.
Okay, let's do it.
So I love family vacations, but my family is not quite supportive of the family vacations. For the last 13 years of my life, we have been vacationing in the house of my pupos, khalas, mamus and chachus.
Right.
So last year I asked my mom about the vacation and she said, "ऐस साल तो साब बराबर होएगा." जो कुछ समझ नहीं आई थी ऐसे.
Okay.
And she was like, "पिछले साल तेरी फुफ्फी अपने फीने बच्चियां दी फौज लेके पूरे 2 हफ्ते तक मेरे सिर ते सवार रही थी इस साल मेरी वारी जे ते याद रखी मैनू उधर जांदा ही माइग्रेन दा दर्द शुरू हो जाएगा ते मैं किचन च कोई नहीं जा सकती." मैंने कहा, "मम्मा आपको तो जोड़ों का दर्द नहीं था?" उनका, "नहीं पुत्र, अल्लाह ना करे." मैंने कहा, "मेरा मतलब वो आपको तो खाड़ी के जोड़ों का दर्द नहीं था जो पिछले साल आपने मेरी फूफी को दिए थे और इस साल आप वसूल करने का सोच रही हैं?" मैंने कहा, "आहो मेरी सियानी थी, चल छेती पैकिंग कर." मैंने दोबारा वही सवाल पूछा, "मम्मा आपको सब कुछ करना चीप नहीं लग रहा?" मैंने कहा, "पुत्र चीप लगता नहीं, पैंदा है 2000 का पेट्रोल पवाओ तो 2 हफ्ते याशी करो."
आए क्या बात है, wonderful, wonderful.
And so relevant to the Pakistani community as well. On a lighter note, though,
but you know the best part is that she was happy that even her mother called her Peena.
Her popo ke bache, not herself though.
And yeah, I think I'm going to add to it because she actually talked about vacations as well. So ladies and gentlemen, every now and then this year around I actually wanted to go to Europe, but unfortunately I couldn't because of COVID. And for all the other years, I didn't have the money.
No, but here's the thing. Do you guys agree, though? And I think because of your joke, because it was sort of a microcosm of our community as well.
Yeah.
We never had, although I was belonging to the military background, we never had like a proper vacation, right? I mean, it was either us siblings or either us sisters.
Going to another mess.
No, yeah, mess.
Another destination, but a mess.
Yeah, but it's sort of boring. I'll tell you what, the family altogether would never go to a place. Like, it would either be my sisters rebelling that, okay, if you guys are not going, we are going, right? But why not?
Because I am also from a military background. My dad's in the Air Force, so it's all too relatable. Way too relatable. Because like we go for excursions, but never like a family vacation in a sort.
Absolutely.
But when we go there, of course, we go to our Popo's house, Mamu's house.
But I think that's most fun as well. And eventually when you're going to grow up, you will be an independent soul, which you are even today. I think that you will have the liberty to go anywhere in the world, and your parents are not going to say anything to you. For this time you're spending with your cousins, mamus, uncles and families, these are the people who are actually going to look after you for the rest of your life.
And you'll cherish this
time.
Yeah,
so we'll cherish that. But yeah, very quick question that, I know you have a question.
Okay.
I have a question too as well. That at a very such young age, at a very tender age, you're actually an entrepreneur as well. And you keep on doing some small businesses, which obviously leads you toward getting into cottage industry of Pakistan and then being an independent person yourself. What are you focusing on and what kind of businesses have you involved yourself in?
So I started business when I was around 11.
Wow.
So it's been 2 years already.
Yeah.
And I was the youngest ever to be incubated at the National Incubation Center.
Wow.
So it's like something really big and something that's really close to my heart.
What was the idea?
So the idea was basically connecting people and also having more accessible, appropriate and meaningful entertainment for kids.
Okay.
And that was the idea, basically, people coming there, and also like, because kids are like, you know, I want to be that, like that person, so they can meet that person. That's more
idealizing.
You know, yes, idealizing, and they could meet that person and be like that person.
Okay.
So now at that time, the idea did not get into the cohort originally. But now I feel like I'm starting to make that happen anyway, because I have a good following on my Facebook page. That's Raheen Fatima as well.
Right. Yes.
And there I am now producing panels for all kids panels with internationalchildren.world, Heidi Little. And we are basically just producing panels talking about love, care and respect of children on earth. And it's also beautiful.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant to just listen to it as well. But Raheen, if I were to ask you that now, mashallah, you're 13, but when you grow up, you have to sort of narrow down things on what you're going to focus on. So if you were to pick one of the things that you're doing right, or one of the feathers in your hat, which one would it be?
But you know what, I think that women can multitask. I think that women can multitask and that you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, but so let me rephrase it. Which one is the closest to your heart?
Now, it's like, you know, literally like me and Shahzad were actually talking about this, that, you know, it's like asking a mother to pick one child.
Aww.
I mean, you always have a favorite in your heart, but you can't just pick it out.
So you have a favorite?
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah.
Probably entrepreneurship.
Entrepreneurship.
Oh, that's
yeah.
nice.
And then you obviously can be a happy soul by sharing or cracking jokes whenever you get a chance. And you know, if you're an entrepreneur, imagine a boss who actually comes in the room and every now and then cracks a joke. I think
it would be so much fun.
Yeah, that'll be good, and everybody needs to do that. People over here, you know, once they know that now they are the boss, you know, they just get bossy. People, you know, if you've gotten that opportunity to lead from the front, please make sure that you know, kind of enjoy with the team as well. And I think that we're very lucky in terms that Masood Beg Sahab actually does that as well. You know, he kind of looks after everybody, spreads the smile and shares it with everybody.
Well.
And it comes down to our producer as well and our researcher, whom we see very often. Ladies and gentlemen.
You mean seldom.
Yeah, but very quickly, what is the one thing which you would love to say to the future generations, or the generation you belong to?
I would want to say one thing, that the true thing that we are born to is basically to realize our true potential.
Yes.
And we need to do that. You know, there is no age for that. You can do it at 40, but it's better when you do it at 14. So, you know, realize your true potential and explore everything.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for being the beacon of light and energy early in the morning for us. Good luck for all your future endeavors as well. This was very inspiring for us, right?
Yeah. So very quickly, ladies and gentlemen, before we wrap up, there's only one thing which I kind of was very focused on over the weekend, and that was patience, patience and patience. Because in life, there are things which might not go your way, but that's the time when Allah is testing you, and you really have to be patient and still be thankful. That's the only message for today. If you're able to do that, I think that the kind of content you will possess is something which will never let you lose.
Oh, most definitely so. And if you did learn something from us, or even if you have a feedback for us, write us on a Facebook page with the name of
Well This Morning on your television screens down below over here.
On Twitter.
Well This Morning without a G.
On YouTube.
Well This Morning.
Right. And the repeat of this show you can catch at
5 past midnight. Ladies and gentlemen, until the next time, look after yourselves. It's a rainy morning over here in Islamabad.
Be
Make
safe.
sure that you enjoy. Pray for the people in Karachi and elsewhere as well. And remember our team in your prayers. Look after yourselves. 1, 2, 3. Good morning.